Today is the 14th day of May, 2012. This is the Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee. My name is Tom LaBonge, and I'm joined by, next to me,
Joe Buscaino representing CD15.
CD15, that's a good
the
district.
great council district 15.
And the Port of Los Angeles.
Yes, it's in our, yes, the great
And all
port.
the ships at sea, you know, there's an extension from there.
Yes,
Very
we are
good.
the best port in the world.
That's good, good. We're very pleased to have our Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles here. Could we have the first item called?
Yes. The Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval a license agreement template and a licensing fee schedule for the commercial use of City of Los Angeles Harbor Department-owned photographs. However, we have been informed by the department that it wishes to revise its report and recommendations on this matter. So at this time, the department is asking the committee and the council to disapprove this transmittal from the board. And this would be in accordance with this Charter Section 606, which gives you, the council, the only two options to act, only to approve or disapprove. So at this time, this transmittal is to be disapproved per the request of the harbor.
And I can maybe explain that a little bit better. And actually, we may want to talk about the merits of the item, because it's been one of our goals to preserve and make available our historical archives. And so we're about ready to go live with a website that will have our photos available, and if people want to use them, they can contact us. And we have fees that we've matched to fees that were also put in place by the library and DWP for their photos. But what actually happened was, when our board adopted this item, they adopted it as a resolution and not an order. So the CLA noticed that and asked that our board go back and re-adopt the item, and it's scheduled for our agenda this Thursday, at our board meeting this Thursday. So it's more an administrative thing, and I guess you have to vote it down because we've come to the end of the time frame. But it will be coming back. It's just that the board has to also adopt an ordinance to go along with this.
Yeah.
Just a question, how do we relate to the Los Angeles Library Archives?
Well, we have actually separate archives that, and I was fortunate that when the city was doing the first round of layoffs, I picked up an archivist who is actually looking at our collections and cataloging our collection. Unfortunately, our photos were not properly stored in acid-free media, and there's been a lot of damage to them, and we're actually trying to repair and kind of stop that damage with our films and photos. But we will have a website that is, that you can link to through our website. And other than the fees matching, it's really a separate records management system that we have.
Right. In our archives, which if you ever have time, I'll take you there, there's a tremendous, you've been to the archives?
Oh, yeah,
You've been to the vault?
Yes, yeah.
And you've seen the vault?
Yeah.
And during the WPA time, the Works Project Administration, they had a photographer. And all the bridges were captured, from the moment that they said, this is where we'll build the bridge, to the pouring of the cement, to the lacing of the steel, to the construction, which was a tremendous catalog of our history. And the Port of Los Angeles certainly has that. I just want to make sure the library is consistent with the archives. A great story about the Los Angeles Public Library is when Security Pacific, which was a bank, closed its doors, they had the archives for the city.
Right.
And basically it was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant pictures. And two librarians, Kathy Kabashi and Carolyn Cole, said, let's go out to all the branches, because they maybe had pictures of what was, quote, the Society of Los Angeles, but it didn't reflect the diversity of Los Angeles. And throughout the library system, they saw the creation of the changing faces of Los Angeles. They call it the Shades of Los Angeles. And they showed people, just like I'm sure the faces of the workers who work at the port now are changed from the workers of 50 years ago and 100 years ago, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a dynamic moment for the library department, because then they got serious about their photo collection and their archives. And I just want to make sure your archivist is talking to the librarian who's talking to Todd.
Right.
And we don't have an archivist over now at our record center, but I'm going to ask for your help when we go to budget so that they identify somebody, so that the city clerk, which is responsible for the archives, has an archivist, because just so many issues come up, not just for the meaning of our history, but for lawsuits and other claims. If you look back, you could see certain things that were captured in film. So we're
There's the amount of material we have is like unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, we have Warehouse 1 has material. We have all of our engineering vault is in the Crew Center. It couldn't even fit probably in the city archives, but there is an online archive database that pulls in all archives. So if you're searching on like for a picture of, you know, something in Los Angeles Harbor, you can go online into that system once we become part of it, and you pull up things from the library, you pull things up from USC's.
Right.
They're all come together and you can search, and so it's a great tool.
And the one thing I wanted to ask, and I saw the rates there, is there a standard like 25 pictures that students would be made available free if someone's like doing a report, they wanted to get a picture of old San Pedro?
And actually, these are for people that, for commercial use.
Commercial use.
If somebody comes in and they just want a picture, that would come under the Freedom of Information Act, and we've tried to explain how that's different, and we make those things available as well. Even the way the ordinance, or actually the resolution was written, it does allow the executive director to waive fees, but generally for individual use, there are no fees. That comes under Freedom of Information Act.
Right. Well, that's very good. So students would be covered.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
So they'll be able to download these images off the website?
Yeah, well, actually, you know, when those images are on there and you have a fee for commercial use, there's generally a watermark on them that prevents people from just downloading and then publishing them and making money on selling their books or whatever. So they have to they will see the photo they want, then they'll email our archivist, who'll make arrangements, you know, once they pay the fee to actually, you know, give them the license to use the photo.
Right. Which is good. So I think we should deny it as requested by...
Oh, please deny this item for me.
You get it right there. There's a photographer that I knew named William Ray who would get up at 4 in the morning and drive all over the city, and he'd shoot the life of the city. And he used to go down to San Pedro and go to the cafes and see the fishermen, and he gave all his work, much of it, to the Los Angeles Public Library. But so this is a good thing. So we gladly follow the recommendation of the great executive director, and
Yes.
I want to say reject this.
So moved.
And then send it back to the Harbor Commission for
Right.
their corrected action. Super.
Thank you.
So ordered. Item number 2.
Yes, under item 2, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval the second amendment to a contract with Tetra Tech, which is a contract for administration of the Clean Truck Program. The amendment would extend the contract term by 18 months, so it would expire in December 2013. The amendment would provide specified training of port staff with the ultimate goal of transferring to the staff many or all of the tasks now being performed by Tetra Tech, and it would provide for a 5% discount on all labor to be performed by Tetra Tech for the remainder of the contract term.
Yes, so this is just in a time extension, no money extension, because there's remaining money in the contract. And as you heard, it goes from July of this year through the end of December next year. And in September 2013, all the concession agreements expire. And so we thought it was important to have the same consultant on board who dealt with the concession agreements originally. But we're looking at ways we can transition this work effort to staff. There may be a small amount of work that needs to be done by an outside consultant, and then the two ports would work together to hire the consultant to do that and issue an RFP for that work.
Great. So any
Okay,
questions, Joe?
just can you give us an update on the Clean Truck Program, the amount of reduction in emissions, the amount of trucks that are participating while we're on this item?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that because something significant just happened. So, of course, all of the bans are in place. All the trucks coming in and out of the port are 2007 and newer, and there's probably 10,000 trucks that are in our database of our Clean Trucks program. We saw over an 80% reduction in emissions just from trucks alone. which helped lead to the overall 69 to 70% reduction in emissions port-wide. But a significant thing happened last week. For several months now, our port police have been going out and ticketing with the California Air Resources Board what we call dray-offs. So a clean truck comes in, it picks up a container, it goes outside the port area, and then switches that container off to a dirty truck.
Right.
And it's a way to, get around the system. And so last week, the California Air Resources Board approved our memorandum of understanding with the port, and now our own port police have the authority to go beyond our jurisdiction and issue tickets to those trucks directly. And let me tell you, those tickets are $1,000 a ticket. And I remember the first week they went out, the one day they caught about 4 or 5 guys, and then the second time they went out, the same guy was caught again. I couldn't believe it. $1,000 a pop. That's a significant ticket. But as we ramp that up now that we have the authority, we don't have to wait for the Air Resources Board to send their people down. I'm hopeful that this practice will go by the wayside.
What's interesting is it was a very tough ruling that your board took, tough medicine, but it made all the world of difference. You said 69% reduction?
Well, overall, the Clean Air Action Plan in the 5 years from 2005 to 2010 had basically a 50% reduction in NOx, 69 to 70% reduction in sulfur oxides, and then particulate matter. And particulate matter was key because that's the constituent that has the linkage with the health risk.
Right.
So in trucks, it was like between 80 and 90% reduction.
Now, in a history, we talked the archives, item number 1, before the ships came in the 10s and 20s and 30s by sail into the port. When did they become diesel? Or
Steam ships?
Steam ships were not a pollution problem as much as diesel.
Yeah. So,
but it would be interesting to say, you don't have to answer the question now, to look back at a chart.
Yeah.
I hike every day in Griffin Park, and when I have time, I go to the highest mountain behind the observatory, which is 1,625 feet, and you see this beautiful basin. And the fall and the winter is the best time to hike. And when you look down to the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, sometimes you would see this film, not on work, the day of work. If the work was the day before, the fog would lay there. But it does make a big difference what you're doing, Geraldine, and your team down there. I wonder about, because the interesting thing too was that many of these truckers were immigrant entrepreneurs who were trying to be independent operators.
Right.
And independent operators, in the 60s and 70s, truck drivers and Johnny Cash and Bill Dudley or whoever it was who said 6 days on the road, going to make it home tonight. That was their whole life on trucks, but it all transformed, and many of those individuals bought the old trucks at the independent hauler.
Right.
And then they tried to make a go of it, and now they're transforming. What has been the success of those who were formerly driving just old rigs to get new rigs or to get with someone who could help them?
Yeah, there was a significant amount of grant money that was issued by both the port and the Air Resources Board and actually the AQMD. I mean, we put about $44 million out in grants, and so pretty much everyone who wanted a truck got a truck during one of those grant programs that were issued. Of course, now we're looking on to move into the electric trucks. I mean, right now we face an important point. As a matter of fact, there was a meeting last week with the Solicitor General and all of the federal agencies about what the position of the United States is vis-a-vis the Supreme Court taking up the issue on our concession agreement. And so that is something that, we're watching. We don't want to lose the right to have the concession because it's a concession that allows us to really do the enforcement. There have been certain concessionaires that I have terminated because they were falsifying the VIN numbers on the trucks and trying to sneak the dirty trucks into the port. I mean, that's like a felony. So there are some that are not, playing in our area anymore. And we wanted to have that hammer to be able to throw out licensed motor carriers that were not complying, and that's at risk right now before the Supreme Court.
And is Long Beach equal in the sense of their enforcement on this, or do they have more of an aggressive program or a softer program?
They, in settlement with the ATA, they gave up the concession and just used the truck registry. In essence, we enforce for the entire bay.
Uh-huh.
We meet monthly with them. The two ports work very closely on this, but we let them know, this is the licensed motor carrier we have dropped his concession, these are his trucks, and they're red lighted. And we red light them in our system, and they copy that. And then when that truck comes up to the gate, it can't get in. It'll be, a big red light will go on. It's like that truck will not have access to the port. So in essence, our program is enforcing the program for the whole bay. So, if this issue goes before the Supreme Court and it doesn't go our way, it will affect us and Long Beach.
Do we need to do anything legislatively as a council, or?
No, it's just,
all in
we're
the court?
just kind of waiting to see what happens, so.
Well, I think it's such an important success of your leadership and your Board of Commissioners and Mayor Villaraigosa, because it was very tough. I heard from truckers, and it was Dave Dudley, not the other guy, Bill Dudley. Dave Dudley rode 6 days on the road, and I'm going to make it home tonight. But that's a whole interesting transformation.
Yeah.
The most successful thing, can anybody in this room name the most successful thing the federal government has done in the last 50 years that relates to health and pollution? Very good. Who said that? Yeah, 58% of the people smoked, and now 13% of the people smoke. And that was a constant ram of, tough things, but it
Right.
does have an effect.
And educating the kids.
And educating.
Because my kids are just,
Yeah.
they
yeah.
see somebody smoking, it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, that's
Right.
disgusting."
Right.
So.
But we don't realize there was a success. I mean, people say government's not successful. I think it's successful when it's successful. And then when it's success, it borrows that line from Gone with the Wind. You know that line from Gone with the Wind is?
I was born in 74.
I got it, Joe. I'm trying to help you, man. You ever take your wife to see Gone with the Wind? The last line of Gone with the Wind is, "After all, tomorrow's another day." So you usually get people to say, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," but that's another thing.
Right.
All right, San Pedro meets Hollywood. Good job, Joe. Okay, thank you
You have
very
a
much.
question on this item,
No.
if I can, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair?
sure.
Just, Dr. Nance, in relation to Tetra Tech
Yeah.
and extending their term, is this going to force the port to hire another full-time staffer, or do we have the resources in place?
No, I think we're looking at training. We still have our internal clean truck team
Okay.
training our staff to do that. We may need some assistance with the computerized system that operates the overall, the truck
Okay.
data for a consultant. But
Okay, great.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's approve it. So ordered by the great councilman of the 15th. I'll second it. Forthwith. Schedule it. Next item.
Under item 3, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for approval a surety agreement among the Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority, the cities and ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles, and the U.S. Bank National Association. This agreement would authorize the ports to act as surety providers to ACTA for a period up to 7 years to fulfill a debt service reserve requirement for the issuance by ACTA of Series 2012 refunding bonds in the amount of $83.7 million. The Port of Long Beach approved this agreement last week, I believe.
this is something the two ports have been working with ACTA to try and refinance some of their debt. One of the significant benefits is that the way the Alameda Corridor project was put together, in the event that they don't move enough volume through the corridor to pay the debt, then the two ports have to dig into their pockets and make up the shortfall. So this past year was the first time we ever had to put money in, had a shortfall, and so we've been strategizing with ACTA on ways we can reduce the shortfall in the future, and one of the ways was to refinance the debt. So with this new refinancing, the shortfall exposure that the two ports have will go from 121 million to 53 million, which is a significant reduction. And, you know, the way I look at those shortfall advances, that's money I could be spending on our own projects. And so, you know, we're looking, you know, to really try and reduce those shortfall advances, because it takes away from other work that the ports want to do. So,
And the CAO has approved this?
Well, I don't know how the CAO,
Yeah, why don't you come to the microphone just so we know what we need to know?
This report, Alvin Newman, CAO's office, this report was waived by the mayor for CAO report, so the CAO report did not prepare a report on this.
But have you looked at it at all?
Yes, I have looked at it.
Okay.
Just for my informal opinion, it's a very technical report, and basically what the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach, they are like a third-party guarantor as a formal promise to ensure that in the event that the Alameda Corridor is not prepared or cannot pay for it, then Port of Los Angeles and Port of Long Beach will be the insurer or the promise to pay for it. As Dr. Nats has stated also, in the event that there is a shortfall, and then the federal government, the Federal Railway Administration, will know that there is a third party to pay for these loans, but also as part of the loan guidelines is the federal government, you cannot have an entity from the federal government to act as a third party. And so what the port had to do with the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach is to get a separate third party, which they're doing as part of this report. And as Dr. Nats has stated, there will be a significant savings in the shortfall from has been estimated from, if it wasn't approved, it could be as much as $121 million, and if it is approved, it could go down to about $60 million.
How much did you have to pay last year?
2.9 million.
2.9, so it will go up that high, possibly? When you mentioned
Well, it's estimated each year depending on how the volumes go. And interestingly enough, we just got our numbers for last month. We were up almost 15%, which was, a surprise. So if things keep going that way, then we won't have to worry about this. But
Right.
And it should minimize the shortfalls. But the other thing is the agreements requiring the reserve fund. And, a lot of times when you refinance, you can use the proceeds of the refinancing for the reserve, and this FRA did not allow that, and so that's why we're also putting up the money for the reserve.
This is a pie. Who pays for Alameda Corridor?
Well, it basically is paid for, the debt is paid for by the railroads paying the user fee.
Okay.
So there's a container charge. There's also a charge that's paid by boxes that do leave the basin by rail but don't go up the Alameda Corridor. Maybe they're trucked down to Hobart Yard, and then they get on a train there. So those also pay the Alameda Corridor.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Good.
So it's been paid by the railroad. This is the first time we've ever had to make a shortfall advance.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What immediate impacts or financial impacts will this have on the port once this agreement's in place?
Yeah, I think, we have a reserve that we keep for these types of things. I think immediately the 2.9 million was not significant. I think it'll help us plan for the next few fiscal years because the reserve that we'd have to allocate, in our budget would be so much smaller, and it allows us to do the waterfront projects and the customers projects. So that's what we're really trying to do, invest in our capital program.
Right. Good.
And I know the port's got somewhat of a large budget. What part of the budget would this be taken out of?
This is actually not our operating budget. It would be part of our non-operating budget.
Okay.
So it's part of the reserve. We keep a equivalent to about $235 million in reserve, and so this is part of that.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to approve that, Joe.
Yes.
So moved, I seconded, so ordered. Next item.
Thank you.
Item 4, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval a proposed foreign trade zone operating agreement with 3 Zone Logistics, LLC, for the operation of Foreign Trade Zone 202, Site 10D, located in Carson, California. The agreement would have an initial term of 5 years with 3 5-year renewal options for a total potential maximum term of up to 20 years. And in this case, the CAO has submitted to the mayor a report and recommendation for approval.
Very
This is
good.
a fairly routine item. We have these come down here all the time. Approval of a foreign trade zone designation for a business in Carson.
Which I think is special. How far into the metropolitan area do you go with these foreign trade zones? Is there any in the San Fernando Valley?
I think we have some in the Inland Empire.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I just want to make sure you show with great pride that you're the conduit for this good
Right.
that comes, that the Port of Los Angeles finds a way to reach not just
Right.
in the greater San Pedro, Long Beach area, but also throughout the Southern California area, because you're very important to all of us. So I recommend approval, seconded by Joe. So Dr. Nats, I want to thank you, and I want to publicly thank you for Mike Christensen as a team. State Department had a program in Hamburg, Germany, and what was nice for me as a representative of Los Angeles to go someplace and people say very nice things about the leadership of the Port of Los Angeles, and to say that someone is following us in what you have done as our executive director of the port, it made me extremely proud. And also working with the Consul General in Hamburg, Germany, that's the first consulate that George Washington established in 17...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
17 something. You know, forgive me, George.
Yeah.
I should have known the date. But that's the first one that was established, and that port over the years has changed in the whole area, but a lot of it they look to Los Angeles, what
Right.
the green efforts, if I could use that term, that you have done, the jobs efforts in trying to make things work, and was very impressed with the waterfront development. I've been through Hamburg a long time, many times, and there was a tough part. The tough part's like Las Vegas now, which is not as
Right.
tough
Yeah.
as what it once was, and the waterfront is unbelievably nice, which they've transformed. But to hear them talk of you personally, and the port in itself made me feel real proud, Dr. Nats. And Mike Christensen did a great job, and he presented the mayor of Hamburg a book on the history of the Port of Los Angeles, which was very nice. And he also was very key on a number of the discussions we had with the variety of thinkers, from students that we addressed to other people from other parts of Europe to other people from other parts of Germany there. So
Yeah.
want to
I know,
publicly
we
thank
had
you.
a great trip. It was
Yeah.
a good trip.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I too want to chime in on the fine work Dr. Nats is doing as well. And I want to publicly thank you and your staff for a warm welcome that you've given my staff and I in the last 104 days. But our relation.
You steal our staff, too.
That's right. And we did make a fine draft pick in Patricia Whalen, who we've talked early on of having a renewed relationship and open dialogue between my council office and your staff. So we have our port liaison, Patricia Whalen, who we welcome with open arms, and looking forward to doing great things. We got so much momentum going coming our way in the
We're
port.
meeting this afternoon, too.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Just
Thank
want to
you.
add something too. I've been in probably every general manager's office in the city, even before I was elected, even still when I was elected, but I never was more impressed than I was on your floor to see the energy of your whole staff well after 4 o'clock and trying to do the job, and it's very exciting. And that's why I want you to tell the story. I say the same thing to Water and Power. Tell your story. It's very important. Los Angeles International Airport, the gateway. Tell the story, because there's 3 things that make this city great. One is Mulholland and the water. Without the water, we would be a dry desert. 2 is when Phineas Banning came from Delaware there and said, we're going to do something here in San Pedro, and the work and the jobs that the port is all about. And then the Los Angeles International Airport and the movement of people around the world. Professor Steve Airy, I don't know if you know of him.
Yes, I know
He
Steve.
wrote a book that truly talks about Los
Globalizing
Angeles.
LA.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important. So I'm proud, and the benchmarks that you have done in creating the challenge of the need for better public health through our industries, because it's good. So if there wasn't this, I'm going to turn it over to you, Joe. I want to thank the gentleman.
Go ahead.
Then you come back. You can thank her too. So okay. Call the next item.
Under item 5, we go to the airports. The Board of Airport Commissioners submits for council approval a replacement lease with Federal Express Corporation for land and auto paving located at 6069 Imperial Highway at LAX. And this would be a lease for a term of 5 years. The CAO has submitted to the mayor a report and recommendation for approval of this replacement lease.
Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports.
Hello, Mark.
Morning, Councilman. Yes, we have a 5-year replacement lease for Fedex for basically auto and truck parking adjacent to or in the proximity of their cargo facility there on Imperial Highway.
On Imperial Highway, yeah. Who planted the trees on Imperial Highway?
There's a group called Tree Musketeers
Yeah,
that's based in El Segundo that does a lot that work.
But they did pick a variety of trees. I mean, they weren't all
They've done a nice
dozens.
job with that, yes.
They're kind of a variety of it. But anyway, I just mentioned that because it's Imperial Highway. This is good, Mr. CAO?
Yes, Bill Kreitz with the CAO. Yes, we reviewed this and we recommend approval.
Good. And how big a space is it?
It's actually 6 spaces that total up to about 171,000 square feet.
Right, good. Okay, good. And how long is the agreement for, 20 years?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, with option up to 20? It says,
Yeah, we've got it.
got a 5-year renewal with total option for up to... So if you think you need something in 5 or 10 years now, you could cancel the lease. And
Right,
then
we
you need this
can,
back.
we can cancel the lease or amend the lease if we need to, if they need more space, less space for parking.
Got it. Thank you very much. Recommend approval. Next item.
Thank you.
Under item 6, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval the First Amendment to a contract with Aircraft Service International. And this is an interim contract for operation, maintenance, and repair services for the inline baggage handling system at LA, Ontario. The amendment would extend the contract term on a month-to-month basis for up to 12 months, would increase the compensation authority not to exceed $200,000 per month for a total additional amount of not to exceed $2.4 million, and this is pending completion and release of a request for bids for a new contract for these services. The CAO has submitted to the mayor a report and recommendation for approval of this contract.
Good
I'm sorry,
morning,
I-
Dave
I-
Shooter, LAWA, Deputy Director for Engineering and Maintenance. The purpose for this item is to add a 4th year to Aircraft Services International contract. The reason for the 4th year is that a year ago, April, we rejected all bids for a new contract for various reasons. We commenced writing a new RFB, request for bid. In November of last year, we abandoned that RFB and rewrote for a number of good reasons that had to do with saving money at Ontario. This is just for Ontario Airport. So we have incorporated into the new RFB, which will be released in late June, I hope, 4 things that will save money for the next bid. We have consolidated the control room at Ontario Airport for the baggage handling system into 1 terminal instead of 2. That's about $120,000 a year savings. We've added the passenger boarding bridges to the contract. We will add the passenger boarding bridges. The same company can use people for both the baggage handling system and the boarding bridges, and that saves money. We've clarified language on state licensing agreement, which was one of the reasons for rejecting all bids, and we are changing from a lump sum to a line item bid, because that provides us a better oversight, better management of the contract.
How long have you been with the World Airport?
How long have I been there?
Yeah.
I'm coming up on 6 years.
6 years, good, okay. All right, so you have any questions?
No questions.
No questions. And then the issue of Ontario, whatever that issue, whenever it gets talked about, this doesn't impact that at all? This is an operational matter
I will tell you that our contracts have a 30-day termination.
on that, too? And then how many, 6 years ago, how many planes kind of landed in Ontario? And because they've come here and said that it's changed drastically. I just want to know the numbers, you know?
The number of planes has gone down. I don't have those numbers right off the tip of my tongue.
Give me a
but
guess. How many land at LAX a day?
Planes land a day about 800?
800 a day at LAX?
Yeah, we have about 2,000 daily operations.
That's landing and takeoff.
Landing and takeoff is about half
yeah.
that many. Yeah.
Okay, now how about at Ontario, you think? How many they got? They got 2,000 at LAX,
Probably about 400.
400 landing and takeoff, yeah. I remember I used to work on the MTA board, and they say over 1 million people, ride the bus. And I think 1 million people. But they count them twice because they go out Wilshire, get off at La Brea, and they get on at La Brea and come back into town. So you get them twice. But I got that. That's all right. So, but there's nothing new on that issue? Ontario?
We're
Doing the study?
still working with the CAO to
Right.
produce that report.
Yeah, when are you looking at that, Lisa? When do you want it back? We said we'd get it back in like 45 days, so you think like in 40 days we could have it from now? June? Status report, very well. We'll look for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There was an actor named Jim Davis, I think it was. Did you ever hear of him? He had a voice like you, right there. Remember that? Yeah. Say it again. We approved it. Yeah, we approved it. So approved. Next item.
Under item 7, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval the first amendment to a contract with Griffin Company, and this is a contract for general construction services on some of the smaller projects associated with larger airport development projects at LAX. The amendment would extend the term by 1 year to expire on May 24th, 2013, resulting in a total term of 4 years, and this would allow the contractor time to complete various projects at LAX. The CAO has submitted to the mayor a report and recommendation for approval.
Yes, good morning. Roger Johnson, Deputy Executive Director. As was reported, this request is to amend the contract to add time only to a general construction contract. The contractor has already begun working on the last of a series of projects that were basically enabling projects that support the airfield work and the Tom Bradley terminal. Probably the most critical is they're tying in a new fire line that will serve the new Tom Bradley International Terminal once it's done. So we're asking for a 1-year extension, no addition of funds.
Right.
Do you think they'll be here the next year?
It will be finished, yes. This work should be finished within about 6 months, so it's relatively small projects that they're finishing up on.
And you're happy with this company, with Griffin Company?
Yes, Griffith does a lot of work on the airport. They've been very successful bidders out at the airport for years. They're one of the major subcontractors on the new Tom Bradley International Terminal, as well as some other projects that they've won. They do good work, and they're pretty well within budget on all their jobs.
I think they've done it for over 100 years, and they also have contracts with Water and Power, and I saw them lay concrete and a curb in a perfect way within 2 days' work. So I'm a strong supporter of this company. If you say it's a good thing, Roger,
They are a good thing.
Joe's going to say it's a good thing. I'm going to say it's a good thing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tell them I know their work. Hey, Roger, tell them I know their work on West Silver Lake Drive, and if it's anything as good, if that crew out of the airport is half as good as the crew on Silver Lake, I'll support them a 2-year extension.
Yes, sir, I will.
All right. Next item.
Under item 8, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval the Fourth Amendment to a contract with Ross and Baruchini Incorporated, which is a contract for project management and information technology-related technical expert services for the department. The amendment would increase the term by 2 years to expire on June 30th, 2014, resulting in a total contract term of 5 years, and the amendment would increase the contract amount by approximately $6 million, resulting in a total contract amount not to exceed $17.9 million. The CAO has submitted to the mayor a report and recommendation for approval of this amendment.
Good morning. I'm with Los Angeles World Airports. I'm ORA Moore. I'm the director for the IT Project Management Office. Good morning. This item is to retain our project management and technical IT expert services that we have currently managing the systems development in the new Bradley West facility, as well as several other infrastructure and security airport IT capital improvements at the airport. This contract was originally a 3-year contract. We are requesting an extension for 2 years. there have been some new capital improvement projects that have been approved since the contract was originally executed, and we need to retain these expert services to complete those projects.
Quick question. I know the last couple items were to extend these contracts. What happened to on time, on budget? What happened to the on time part? I don't know if you can address that, please.
Yes. Most of our projects actually are within budget and schedule. As I just mentioned, when we originally executed this contract, it was for overseeing projects that were approved at that time. Over the last 3 years, we have gotten approval for additional capital improvements that were not projects that were approved within the last, that was not approved at that 3-year mark. Those projects are not scheduled to be completed until either the end of this year or sometime in 2013. And as you may be aware, the Bradley West facility will not totally be open, and the old concourses will not be demolished until late 2014.
Thank you.
No, I just went to the airport on Friday to welcome an international flight from Berlin, and I saw the work, and I think one of the gates is going to be open right in the beginning of January, the last September as you go. So it's a tremendous job. I always want to invoke the name of Janice Hahn, who really pushed to get that project going when she was this chair of this committee. But things do happen, and it's building you're connecting these buildings together with existing buildings and removing stuff. So I understand you want to be on budget, but you want to get it right. So if they need a little more time, let's get it right. So
I'm also looking forward to we're going to give a tour with Gina Marie and staff as well. Being the newest member, I'm so looking forward to that experience and to see on the ground the progress LAX is making.
Yeah. Just go up Sepulveda, turn left on Century. Okay, let's recommend approval. Second, thank you. So that completes our agenda.
No, one more item.
One more item.
Under item 9, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval a contract with W.E. O'Neill Construction Company, and this is for construction of elevator upgrades and escalator site modifications at LAX. This contract would have a term of 5 years and compensation authority not to exceed $84,082,068.
Roger.
Yes, good morning again. This contract...
For the record, state your name.
For the record,
Mr.
Roger Johnson, Deputy Executive Director, Los Angeles World Airports. This contract is actually the 4th contract we've awarded in our elevator and escalator replacement program. The program started in 2010. A survey was done, completed in 2008, that indicated over 98% of our elevators and escalators were well beyond their useful service life. We found that we had actually over 13 different manufacturers' equipment in place, which was a maintenance nightmare. So we've initiated a program to replace the old units. We've put the program together in such a way that we're able to standardize on 3 manufacturers' equipment. This phase of this project right now with W.E. O'Neill will bring us up to completing all but about 25 elevators, which are in the parking garages. So some firsts for the city, in fact, some firsts for the country in this one. We are installing these under a waiver from the state architect department. We have energy efficient escalators that actually go into a revised sleep mode, when, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it.
They go into a revised sleep mode that actually saved 90% of the energy that's
I
required.
brought that up. Right?
You did, yes,
Yeah.
sir. You did.
I'm going to take credit for it. Is that okay, Roger?
That's okay, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Janice can have the airport. I'll do that.
We're also using in some of the larger escalators, some of the longer ones where we have pairs that go up and down, we've got escalators with regenerative braking now. So it actually generates energy on the down escalator that gets stored in batteries that runs the up escalator. So we've cut our energy usage on these escalators by about 90%, and they're all transit rated now. So.
Good. Any questions? I had a question for you. What college do you pair with at all? I was thinking about, and I should have asked Dr. Nance, Harbor College has a relationship to the Port of Los Angeles, correct, Joe? Yes. But I mean a big one, you know. I mean, that's, you know, Southwest Los Angeles or West LA College. I'm just looking to partner our community college. Today on a morning national program in the news, the governor of Delaware spoke about not just the universities of Delaware, but the community colleges. Our community colleges are special. And I don't know if there's an identified one, whether it's El Camino, which is not in the city, but it's still a South Bay community college, but Southwest, just for this job. There's 68,000 jobs at the airport or thereabouts?
Thereabouts, yes.
Yeah, that's a tremendous thing. So not today, but we'll figure it out, that we have a partnership. There's a named person at the Southwest College or West LA College that knows a named person at LAX. There's a named person at the Port of LA that knows the named person at Harbor, so that opportunity exists for those in college, in community college, that possibly could contribute greatly.
I can't.
Charter High School, Port of Los Angeles Charter High School, right next door.
Right.
Administrative building.
I can tell you that the department has a number of relationships with the high schools. We have the LAX Academy, similar, I think, to what you're doing, but also as part of the development program, we've chartered an agreement with Cal State LA. I'm on the board of an organization called the Friends of the College of Engineering, Computer Science and Technology, and we provide internships for minority and low-income students, paid internships for their students to work on the development program, so they can not only help pay for college, but so far 100% of the interns that have come through Cal State LA through our program have gotten jobs.
Yeah, that's important. That's real important. Let me know more about that, because I want to brag about that, Roger.
Yes, sir.
What you do and what other people do at the port, because it's extending the hand out. I think the toughest thing about college, and Joe, you were 1 year old when I graduated from college, so I just want to say, is there were opportunities, but now there's less opportunities now. Since you told me it was 74, I'm going to say that every time. I do want to say one thing, too. I would love to see what's new with the gold line, blue line, green line into the airport?
Mark, you want to, I can't tell you right now, we are working closely with MTA. I think they've stopped calling it the green line to LAX now. They're calling it the LAX connection, because I don't think MTA yet has decided exactly how that connection's going to work. But we are working closely with MTA.
Would you be offended if I tried to push a rail line down the middle of Imperial? I know all those trees would have to be displaced, because everybody wants to go to the beach, you know, and the red car used to go to the beach. Yeah. And I think it should have so it's the LAX connector? Write that down, Lisa. LAX connector, and then let's call it the beach connector. Somehow, you know, right down Imperial, right to Dockweiler, and well, I don't know if those people in South Bay want all the people from LA coming, but we want to get to the beach, you know. So, good job.
We're trying to get a light rail down straight to the Wilmington-San Pedro area in light of what's happening at the Port of Los Angeles with the USS Iowa coming, crafted, the LA waterfront redevelopment. So we're working with MTA there, Mr. Chair.
And see if you could run a special, like at 9:30 on Saturday morning from Union Station down to the Hobart Yard, and then get down the Alameda Corridor. It would be an exciting thing.
Sure.
Use it off hours a little bit. So we got a lot of work to do, but that's what we have. Good young guys like Joe Buscaino. Buscaino. You throw me in San Pedro Bay. All right. Second that motion. Move it. All right. Now, any other item? Any public comment? Any public complaints? We want to thank the Sergeant of Arms, city staff. This meeting's adjourned.